Hey everyone, so today I'll be opening up this spinning reel from Abu Garcia. I'm just going to be greasing up the gears, cleaning off all the sand that's in there, and hopefully this will help you guys out. So, first thing is, of course, take the drag screw off, and then the bail just comes right out. The next thing to do is take this gear off and the two plastic washers, and they just slide right off the shaft. And then the next thing we'll be doing is loosening that screw, and once that screw's out, loosening the nut. And the nut is righty loosey, lefty tighty. So because it turns clockwise, it's a reverse threaded shaft. Alright, so the nut is just a 10 millimeter, and I've done two reels already, and they've all been 10 millimeter nuts. For everything else, I'm using a Glasses screwdriver, and it's worked for every screw so far. So at this point, this whole thing just comes off. There it is. And in here is, of course, a bearing, and the brass thing you see there is the pinion gear. The clutch is in here, and if you can avoid it, definitely do not open this. There's a roller clutch bearing in here. There's 6 pins that usually tighten around this pinion gear, and if you take it out, these pins will fly everywhere. And the first reel I did, I lost one of the pins, and it took forever to put back together. So just in case, I have a mag tray underneath everything, especially if you're working in a garage. These screws are small and you'll lose them. So from here, take the handle off with this right here, just a super long screw, and I'll show you the rest. Alright, so the handle's off. Now to get to the main gears in here, there's screw here, screw up there, and there's likely one underneath this just molding. Most of the reels I have a screw here and up here, but it looks like this one's just kind of snapped on, so you just get a flat head and hopefully it just snaps off this silver plate here. Alright, so the trick to getting this plate off was just getting a flat head underneath the back here, and it just slides right out. As you can see, there's one screw left, and then this whole plate will come off. And it's hard to see on this black reel, but you can definitely see the parting line of where it's going to part. Alright, so with everything opened up, the main drive gear is this big one. It mates with the pinion gear, which is that brass one, and it also mates with this gear back here, and that gear then just turns this lifter, which is for the bail, so your line doesn't just reel up in one place. This reel looks pretty good. There's no sand, there's no dirt in here, so I think I'll just add a little bit more grease and then put it back together. The other reels I opened had some dirt in here, so I actually took out all these parts that I could, soaked them in isopropyl alcohol, get all the sand, all the grease off, just clean everything up real nice, let it dry, and then install it and re-grease it. So any thicker grease will work in here, really. I know they make specific real grease probably that you can buy, but I don't see the need to buy anything specific. I'll just use just the thicker grease that I have in the garage. So yeah, there's not much to it. There's a bearing on each side. This bearing's over here. And this one had some sand, so what I do if it's dry, I just brush it off with a toothbrush. This one looks terribly black, but it's just the grease. And the only other thing is to watch out for the washers that sit on top of the bearings and to not lose those. But really it's pretty easy to open it up, and like I said earlier, if you can avoid it, don't open this, because there's a lot of small parts that just fall all over the place. Alright, so I just have the main plate and everything snapped back on. Nothing's tightened down yet, I just have the handle in and just kind of holding everything together by hand. Just turn the handle, work the grease into the gears, and make sure everything's still functioning properly. You should be able to turn counterclockwise in this case, and you should not be able to turn clockwise if your clutch lever is engaged. So just a sanity check there. But really, nothing should have happened if you didn't open this. Alright, so one thing I didn't realize when I took this off, because I had the screws out already, is that this plate in this case is held on by this screw right here. And so to put it back in, the screw has to be removed. And then, as you can see, I already broke it off a little bit, but the screw is held in right there. So all I did was slide this carriage back on, and now we're ready to put the 10mm nut back on here, as well as the retaining screw which keeps it from loosening. Alright, so the nut and retaining screw are back in. Remember, the nut is lefty-tighty because it's reverse threaded. And from here, it's just putting this gear back on, the two washers. In this case, the fatter washer was on the bottom, thinner one was on top. The other reels I did, it was reversed, so I'm not sure if it really matters. And at that point, the bail can go back on, the handle and the cap for the drag, and that's pretty much it. So here it is all put back together. As far as oiling the upper components like the arm and the underneath the bail and everything, if you do it very light gear oil, any thicker grease will just attract sand and dirt and wear the components much quicker. I'm probably not going to oil it. I prefer just to have the whole thing dry and the sand either fall out or be able to brush it off, and the oil just kind of attracts it. So that's all there is to it. Thanks for watching, and if you have questions, feel free to post them below.